Hello there, my friends. I'm Greg Harradine, I'm a composer, and on this episode of Good Art, Bad Art, episode 60, I'm going to talk about a book. You may know, if you're a long-time watcher of this channel, that every 10 episodes in this series I talk about literature instead of the usual music. Today, I'm going to talk about this book, Seiobo, There Below, by szlo Krasznahorkai, one of my favourite authors. And I'm talking about szlo Krasznahorkai today, partially because in a few hours' time, in fact, in about 1 hour's time, the Nobel Prize for Literature will be announced, and Krasznahorkai is in the running. Of course he is. And my vote is for Laszlo. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but when I release this video, I'm going to release it, I think, at 3 o'clock today. And the announcement is at midday. So when it's released, when you're watching this, the world will know who's won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and my vote is for szlo Krasznahorkai. Come on, Laszlo! So I'll mention in the video description who's won. So if you're watching this and want to find out, check the video description. Anyway, so this book, yes, it's an incredible book. If you haven't read any szlo Krasznahorkai, check him out. He's Hungarian, and thankfully in the last 10, 20 years, his books have been translated into English, so the wider English-speaking world can enjoy his fiction. The things that mark him out are partially the fact that he's a fan of the long sentence, to put it mildly. He can go on for pages and pages and pages and dozens, scores of pages without a full stop. He loves that. In fact, he has once said that the full stop doesn't belong to human beings, it belongs to God, which is interesting. And in his books, often there's a kind of Christian obsession with the apocalypse, right? That's kind of happening. But in this book, Seiobo, There Below, it was greatly inspired by his time in Japan and also China. So there's a kind of Eastern aspect, a kind of Buddhist ideas smashing up against kind of Christian ideas, which makes for a heady brew. It really does. So this translation here is by Ottilie Mulzet. Apologies if I pronounced your name wrong, Ottilie, but a wonderful translation. And it consists of 17 sort of seemingly unrelated stories, but they all do coalesce, really. They all do work together as a collection. One of the interesting things is they are numbered, not simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, as you might normally number the chapters of a novel. It starts off like that, 1, 2, 3, but then 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, and on it goes. Anyone recognize that number sequence? It's the Fibonacci sequence, yes. So you add, we have 1 and 2, then we add those together, 3, then we add the previous number, 2 add 3 is 5, 3 add 5 is 8, 5 add 8 is 13, and so on. And by the end of it, we're getting to quite large numbers, right? 987, 1,597, 2,584. You might think, oh, this is just a little kind of novelty idea here, yeah. But actually, I think it symbolizes kind of like the snowball effect that great art can have. Like in great ideas, you're engaging with them, and things are going along slowly. You're enjoying it perhaps, but as we keep going, you get deeper and deeper, and the effects get more and more pronounced. And wow, suddenly the meaning is so vivid and vital for you, and these huge numbers are coming along, and it's all snowballing, and the effect becomes totally consuming. That's what I'm getting from the Fibonacci sequence numbering there. So, yes, the stories in this book are largely about the relationship between the artist and art. Yeah, there's stories about an Italian Renaissance painter, stories about a no actor rehearsing, also stories about nature as well. Nature, of course, is a big inspiration for a lot of artists. It starts with this depiction of a heron, just standing dead still in a river, waiting to catch a fish. And yes, as you read, Krasznahorkai's style, if you persevere, because, obviously this is not light reading, but if you sit down, no distractions, put your phone away, and read for half an hour and more, you get utterly involved in in his sort of breathless prose, right? His breathless flow of ideas. Well, I must say, in this book, there are more full stops than in some of his other books. I loved, I've read most of his books in English translation. The Melancholy of Resistance, Satan's Tango, War and War. And in this book, I think partially because it's split up into 17 stories, there are more full stops even within the stories. So it's maybe slightly easier to get into, I would say, than his other books. And I think the Japanese influence, there's this kind of, at times, this more calming Buddhist influence coming in. At times. A lot of his novels are pretty bleak, apocalyptic, and can feel breathless and can feel nervous and like, you're at the cusp of a terrifying realization, perhaps. This feels, not, I wouldn't say serene, but there is a more sublime influence there. There's a lovely quote on the back here in the blurb. This novel allows us to glimpse the sometimes terrifying consolations of great art. Yes, it's true, isn't it? When we engage with something truly great, it can scare us, or it can seem like this is almost the work of something beyond the human. But yes, read this. I would really, really recommend it. It's fantastic. It has an interesting epigraph at the beginning. A single sentence. Either it's night, or we don't need light, which is attributed here to two people, Thelonious Monk, the great jazz musician, and Thomas Pynchon, the great author, who is also in the running for the Nobel Prize, right? He's great, but I doubt he'll win. Come on, szlo Krasznahorkai. We'll find out soon. Will he win? I hope so. Got to give this a score out of 100. I always give a score. I love that book. I give it 90 out of 100. I think it's a truly excellent exploration of art and the artist. And really just the sublime. What should I look at next? Please let me know. I usually talk about music of any genre, but also every 10 episodes I talk about literature. So please subscribe. Let me know if you're a fan of Krasznahorkai, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.